I'm actually not kidding. This has to be the worst movie ever made.
Hello guys, welcome back to Purgatory.
Purgatory. It's purgatory.
Stop.
I thought I would try something new.
No,
But that's
stop.
mean.
Stop that immediately. As promised, I did in fact watch It Ends With Us, and the reaction is still coming, but YouTube hates that kind of stuff. Hates it. So you're getting this video first, even though it was supposed to come second. Pretend that didn't happen. And after watching it, I had a bunch of thoughts. And then I went to write the script and I realized I had even more thoughts. Then I watched it with my friend and I realized I had even more thoughts. So I don't know how long this video is, but it took me a while to write this. I wanted to make sure I thought as deeply as possible for this video, but at the same time, like, not go like too far for like my mental state. So there are probably some things I'm going to miss and like even things that I realized but I haven't talked about. But It Ends With Us. Shocker. Sucks. But it's not for no reason. I don't want you to think that I hate for no reason. So in this video, we are going to go over exactly why it is that the movie sucks. We will be going over some different categories to explain exactly why it is that this movie sucks. So let's start with he's abusive.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't.
Immediately, the first thing that we see of him in the entire movie, the first scene that we see of him, he is bursting through the door. He is angrily pacing and then aggressively kicking over a chair and launching it across the, not room, even worse than a room, the rooftop in which Lily is sitting on top of, not just sitting on top of, sitting on the ledge of, and he's bursting through the door, kicking over a chair. Granted, he doesn't see that she's there. However, it is the first scene that we see of him and he's already portraying anger. And that's not even the biggest issue here, okay? We all show anger. We all have anger. It's the physicality to it. It's the fact that he's kicking things. First red flag. You may be saying, but that's not necessarily abusive. And maybe it was like he didn't even know she was there. Okay, so let's go to the very next 5 seconds. He is immensely pushy. He immediately asks her several times to get down from where she's sitting because it makes him nervous. And after she says no, as she should, he invites himself to sit next to her after that display of random anger in front of a random woman at night, alone, on a rooftop. And he's smoking right next to her, which is just so rude. Then proceeds to ask where she lives while sitting next to this woman at night, alone, on a rooftop, where he's cornered her and has her pinned, unless she either wants to jump off or possibly get beat. Like, I don't. But when he asks for her last name because she asked for his and she expresses discomfort and tries to leave, he forces her to answer. He pushes for the answer several times while she's trying to express her discomfort and leave, saying it would be courteous of her to give him her last name because he gave her his, and insists, I'm not gonna stalk you. Motherfucker, what? Then when she's telling him about her naked truths, aka sucky things about her life, when it's his turn, he just says, I want to have sex with you.
Ain't no fucking way, boy.
Very normal thing to do. Very normal thing to say, sir, to a random woman in the middle of the night on top of a roof. But guys, he admits he's not a relationship person. And exactly who is surprised? I don't see anyone. And he tells her, love isn't for me. Lust is nice, though. What red flag is that? 600 million so far, and the movie just started. Oh, okay. Look, if you're not looking for a romantic relationship and you're just like into lust, right? You just want to kind of have sex with people. Like, look, I get that. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm saying you're a freak specifically. It is the middle of the night. You just met this woman 2 seconds ago. You don't know her. It's the middle of the night. She doesn't know you. It's the middle of the night. You just came in, barging through the door, kicking over a chair, only showing aggression. She only knows that you're aggressive and that you want to have sex with her. So now, the reasonable thing to say next would be, love isn't for me, lust is nice though. And you're pushy. What do you mean red flags? Insert the women on TikTok who are like, I can't see the red flags. Oh, all I see are green flags. I cover my eyes, so I don't see the red flags. And it's very clear already, but then he admits to her basically that he's a ladies' man and he's used to getting what he wants and that he manipulates to do so. He doesn't say that last part, but we know. All he does this entire time is be abusive and manipulative. Somehow, within the first scene we see him in, within the first 2 seconds, and with someone that he's never met. It's actually crazy. I'm pretty sure she literally says something and he says that he's used to getting what he wants, or something this works every time. Like she's like, how many times has this worked on a woman? And he's like, every time or something. Like I'm losing it. The scene is still not over. Don't you dare think that it is. Same scene. She says, I'm the kind of girl that you take home to mama. I don't do flings and I don't do non-relationships. Very reasonable, right? And his immediate response is, and I mean immediate, he almost cuts her off at the tail end of her sentence to say, how far would you go?
How far would you go?
This is the book that people were crying about, by the way. The people are crying over this book. Granted, I haven't read the book yet. It's about the movie, but I'm pretty sure every single man I've ever been with has asked me that after I express sexual discomfort. I don't want to do that. I'm not into that. Whatever. How far would you go? How far would you go? I'm pretty sure the man that assaulted me literally asked that. He was like, how far would you go? 0 with you, sir. It's almost like I just said that. I don't know. I just I don't really do flings. That's not my thing. Actually, I'm really traumatized. And I'm not sure when I'll be able to have intercourse again without discomfort. I'm going to therapy for it. I'm just really struggling. It's hard to live with this trauma. Actually, I'm just trying to figure out how to keep going because of it. Because it's really scary. It's horrible. One of the worst things I think you can go through, and I'm just trying to learn how to live with it. Instead of doing something right. How far would you go? It's stupid. It does, and then he proceeds to very quickly after get sexual with her when she just said she doesn't do these things, and he just learned that she's in distress, upset, and vulnerable. And she's trapped on a roof at night with him, which I think means she can't give proper consent. In the way that you can't be 100% sure that she's giving consent of her own free will because she's in a compromised state and in danger. As a person, this pisses me off, but as a dom, this makes me viscerally angry. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of things right now. Finally, we leave the scene. It's a new scene. It's still a bad one, though. When he enters... Did I tell you his name? Oh my god, his name is Ryle. Oh my god. Wait, have I not said anyone's names? His name is Ryle. Her name is Lily. I can't believe I haven't said this. Right. Anyone just struggle with talking to their family? When it's time for the scene where we find out that Ryle is the friend's brother, he insinuates to everyone in the room, 2 people, to everyone that they had sex. And he did it intentionally and knowing it would make her uncomfortable. And she was uncomfortable and he kept talking. She tried to say, no, that's not it. And he said something like, we shared each other's naked truths. And of course they took it as he was giving it. And he knew that this would happen, that she would say, no, that's not what happened. And they wouldn't believe her. And that's what he wanted because abusers like to keep the power. And it made her uncomfortable and she didn't like it. And he said it twice. And then finally she was like, no, we just talked. Because that's what they did. And then the friend's husband was like, oh, talk, is that what we're calling it now? Because we talk all the time. And then he was really annoying and it irritated me. But anyway. And I will never stop mentioning it. This movie is ripe with uncomfortable staring. They don't stop. No one stops. Both Ryle and the childhood love, whose name is Atlas, by the way. I should probably tell you that too. Both of them never stop staring at her, and they stare at her so uncomfortably. But I do have to admit that their stares are different. When Ryle stares at her, it's giving predatory. It is. I thought that before I even saw Atlas's. It feels predatory. It feels uncomfortable. Like he's trying to he's trying to make you uncomfortable. And Atlas is more he just doesn't want to take his eyes off of her. But it's still kind of not comfortable. But at the same time, it's much better. It's much better. In that scene, the husband of the friend is like, let's go have some dumb fun today. Which is the way whatever. So they do. And they all go out. And the entire time, Lily and Ryle are flirting, and she's being so quirky and silly, and he's being... And in an attempt to be cute, they film them interacting, playing around each other, flirting, and dancing around each other or whatever. While he himself brought this up, is explaining how they should probably just be friends, right? Because this would be complicated because, like, my sister in your shop and everything, so we should just stay friends, huh? And then it shows them interacting, dancing around each other, and she's like, yeah, just friends. And then it's time for Lily to leave, thank God, but not thank God, because then he pushes her to let him walk her home, even though she says no, and he once again, like, talks over, like, he doesn't allow no's. He doesn't even want to give you a breath. Like, he asks to tell you. It's not actually a question, and he'll talk over you, he'll interrupt you, whatever, to make sure he gets what he wants. He does not care about your answer. He just doesn't want to, like, catch a charge. So he pushes her to accept his offer to walk her home, and she says yes, because of course she does. That was literally his entire point. That's why he did all of that. And then when they're leaving, this dude, who literally, it came from him. He was like, so we should just be friends, huh? Right? Right? He is the one who immediately then says, I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop thinking about you. Well, make yourself. Do it anyway. I don't care, that sounds like a you problem. What upsets me so much is that after that, and this is more in the bad writing category that we'll go over in a second, but what upsets me so much is that after that, he asks to kiss her after Lily says, I thought we agreed to be friends. And he keeps pushing, and Lily directly says the words, oh my God, you're pushy. But they play it off playfully, as if it's a joke, as if it's funny. And maybe that was the intention, maybe it wasn't. I don't really care, I gotta be honest, but we'll talk about that later. It's just so irritating. So that's another red flag. Shocker, he's pushy and doesn't take no for an answer. I'm shocked. Raise your hand if you're shocked. Clap if you're shocked. Later, there's a party for his sister because it's her birthday, and that is something we will visit in the bad writing category because they messed that up. But anyway, while he's at his sister's party with another woman, he follows Lily around like a puppy the entire time, and she tells him 4 or 5 times to stop. This is where we truly start to see, like, his true colors. Like, they make it a little bit more obvious to you rather than like little hints, like little like, can you catch it or whatever, even though it was obvious to me the entire time. But, like, you know, we finally start to see, like, truly who he is in this scene specifically. How he will ignore direct no's. Not just discomfort and, like, trying to walk it off, but actual direct, leave me alone, stops. How he will, in fact, ignore every single thing that goes against what he wants. That if he's told anything against what he wants, he will find a way to switch it back around or ignore it because he doesn't care about consent. And not only does he not listen, he has an excuse for every single thing she tells him to stop. And not only everything that she tells him to stop, everything she says at all that he does not like. She leaves, he follows. She says, what are you doing? He says nothing. She says, you have to stop staring at me, please. And he says, I'm just looking at you. She says, stop showing up at my flower shop. And he says, but my sister works there. She says, stop following me around the party. And he says, shut up. She's in the middle of telling him what it is she wants him to stop. She's being very clear in her consent. And look, we're going to get into her character. She's not the best when it comes to this, but right now she's being clear and telling him explicitly what she wants him to stop, and it's on him if he decides to ignore it. She's explaining exactly what it is she wants him to stop, and he interrupts her by telling her to shut up. I like you. This trope doesn't need to die. It should have never existed in the first place, and it needs to be tortured for doing so. After he says a super cringy I like you line, she says something that he doesn't like, and this is when we see the first truly scary sign from him. Yeah, we've seen him be aggressive at the very beginning, and he's pushy, and in this scene he's being very uncomfortable, literally ignoring consent and everything, but this is where we truly see the first actually scary sign on his face, where he finally shows his cold upset at being insulted and not getting what he wants, and says, I'm trying, as if to say, I'm trying to be with you, stop giving me attitude and telling me that you want me to leave you alone. But this is a Colleen Hoover movie. Don't you forget. So they do, in fact, both agree to have sex in the next room. In his sister's house, by the way. Don't forget, they're at his sister's house. Would you do that? And do remember, before you answer, that there is a correct answer. Because if you would, freak, derogatory. Here's your badge. You have to wear it. So unfortunately, we are finally getting hot and heavy. They both agree to have sex, which is really unfortunate. And she says the words verbatim. No, 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 stop. Put in the comments right now, before you get to this next part, and tell me right now. Do we think he stops? Clap if you think he stops. So of course he indeed does not stop, and in fact keeps going, until she stops him and says, I don't do casual, I don't want to have sex anymore. What would be the normal reaction? What do you think the normal reaction would be? Side question, not important at all. What do we think Ryle's reaction specifically would be? Put it in the comments right now. I'll wait. Okay, I'll tell you. I can't wait. I'll tell you what he does. He angrily stomps off to get undressed to go to bed. Because he's super cool about it. Definitely fine with this. But it's all good because they go to bed and it's the next day and everything's fine. Because all I did is sleep. Nothing went wrong. It's all good, right? Next day and his sister's over to talk to Lily. And finally warn her that he's a red flag. We get a warning that he's a red flag. And from his sister. From his sibling, dude. His sister's trying to warn Lily that he runs through women like candy and overall that he's just a red flag. And he cuts her off while she's talking to tell Lily to date him because he wants to try. He is so bad that his own sister was trying to warn his love interest to not be with him and in fact run away. That is literally the biggest red flag of all time. No, there can be no bigger one. And he needs to draw her attention away from this, so he asks her to date him. That's not the only reason. However, I think this would probably fit in the bad writing category a little bit more. So, we will revisit this in the bad writing part. She's sleeping. He wakes her up with a kiss because it's so romantic. And it's so sweet and so romantic. And we're supposed to really like him and want them together, which makes no sense because, like, he fucking sucks so bad. And you may think, well, Lily's just a victim, and she is. But not just a victim. She makes no goddamn sense, but we'll revisit that after this section. He's upset that her mom is in town and she didn't tell him so that he could meet her when he hasn't even told her that he loves her yet. And we don't know how long they've been dating. Like, look, okay, if you want to meet your significant other's parent and they say, oh, my parent is in town and you haven't met them yet, you guys haven't talked about that, right? You haven't even talked about, right? And you want to meet them, all you gotta say is, oh, hey, they're in town. If it's cool, I'd like to meet them. Why was the upset ever even there? You wanted her to immediately think of you when her mom comes to town. You want her to immediately think about the two of you meeting. Immediately about you, which is not surprising. Thank you, Ghost. I'm in the middle of talking, but who cares? The upset should never have been there in the first place because that is her mother. When her mom comes to town, she thinks about how she wants to hang out with her, what she needs to do to hang out with her, or maybe just the stress of dealing with an unhealthy relationship between you and your mom, okay? You are not first priority when it comes to her and her mom, and that's normal. But also, clearly, you guys are not on the same page in the relationship. If you are upset that she didn't even think about you when her mom comes to town, and she didn't even think about you when her mom came to town, you guys are clearly not in it. We'll talk about this in the bad writing category. Oh my god, yeah, shocker, I said that once again. We will talk about this in the bad writing category, yes, but I want to touch on it a little bit right now. The miscommunication is ripe within this relationship and this entire movie, even with her and Atlas. Like the entire time. This is like the miscommunication trope in the worst way, in the way that you don't like. In the bad way. Not miscommunication where it gets you somewhere interesting. Miscommunication in the way of stupidity and abuse and all these. It's like so annoying. If you want to meet her mom, if you want to meet her parents, just ask. Motherfucker, just ask. How do I know that he hasn't said I love you yet? Because he tells her in that scene that he loves her. Which I might be reaching on this one. Feels manipulative, I have to say. We don't know how long they've been dating, but we do know that he got upset that she didn't even think about telling him that her mom is here, and that this isn't really far enough to be considered like a really real relationship. They haven't even told each other that they love each other yet. And right when he's like, oh, you didn't even tell me that your mom's in town, rather than asking, you just you didn't tell me that? Oh, well, I wanted to know. Because I want to meet the mom of the woman I love. I'm not reaching, I'm calling it manipulative, and I said what I said. You literally have a reputation for being a heartbreaker and a player. Everyone knows that. You told her yourself. Your sister told her herself. We all know this. That's why you said, I want to try. We are well aware of this. We've all talked about it with each other. Why are you acting like you don't have that reputation by getting upset? Maybe she wanted to wait a little bit longer to make sure you weren't gonna up and leave or do something horrible, which, shocker, he ends up doing. So maybe she was right all along in that specifically and only that. Look I don't like her. We are celebrating. Yay! Yes. What are we celebrating? We are celebrating that Ryle has a major surgery tomorrow. So stop celebrating. Stop it. You're not celebrating anything for him. How dare you? How dare you start celebrating? Why would you do that? There's something wrong with you. And they're busy being silly. So silly, goofy, quirky. And he's saying super not cringe things like,
I have to tell you something. Your frittata's burning.
Well, what are some of your other favorite parts about me?
Your glabella. Your vagina.
and she's right. The frittata is burning. So the alarms go off, and he's an idiot, so he tries to reach inside of the oven, just raw. No protection, just a raw hand. And she's like, you're just gonna stick your hand in there and trying to get him not to do that because, you know, that's not good. And he hits her. Just hits her. And we finally get the first display of physical abuse. However, we were not supposed to know that yet. One thing that I will say the movie actually does well and right is that while the physical abuse is happening throughout the movie, it is shot as if it is accidental so that you do not know it is purposeful because we are seeing through the eyes of Lily. So while it is currently happening, it seems as if it is accidental. However, we see later when Lily's going through her memories that it was actually on purpose every single time. So with that in mind, this is the first display of physical abuse that we get, and he hits her to the floor, knocks her out of the way because he gets angry, and she's clearly re-traumatized and freaking out because she was re-traumatized. And at the time we think it's just because she was knocked back to childhood. No pun intended, though it was pretty funny. However, we do see at the end that it was purposeful. So she was re-traumatized and freaking out because she was actually hit. We actually see later on, this was the first display where he gets so angry he yells and hits her to the ground. So that was the biggest red flag so far. We don't see that yet though. So technically, he accidentally hits her while flinching back. That's what they make it look like. So how do I go about this? As a first-time viewer, we don't know that this is a red flag yet. But it is. Since this is not a spoiler-free video, very much not so, we do know that it was purposeful. He then acts like super weird after he hits her. It's very strange, but I guess it doesn't fall under the abusive Actually, it does. Never mind. Afterwards, he's like super weird, and his personality changes like instantly. Like between before he hits her, when he hits her, and afterwards, it's just shift. Like, he's good at it, unfortunately. But also, like, not. Man, I don't know how to explain it. I would say watch the movie, but please don't. Like, actually do not support it. Either it or watch my reaction when it drops. But please do not support it in way of, like, using, like, Netflix or any streaming service. Should I say maybe I shouldn't be saying that. You know what I mean? Just don't support it, man. He just acts like super strange. And he's like, what did we do? I knew that we'd make a mess. Oh God. And I'm like, okay, so, sir. And I don't know if I'm talking to the actor here or the character. Either, whichever one it is, sir. You need to go back to acting classes. Like, this is not good. And yeah, the switch, the personality change. That's definitely abusive, manipulative. Going from, oh, we're just being so silly, goofy, to knocking her on the ground, traumatizing her, and then being like, oh, actually, I'm so sorry. Like, that's crazy. Next day, or maybe it's not the next day, next scene, she very clearly does not want to go to the restaurant that he says they have reservations for, because everything's good and great because it was an accident, right? Even though it wasn't. She very clearly does not want to go for whatever reason, and I don't know. Maybe it's because you hit her and now she has a big bruise on her face and she doesn't want to be around those people. Maybe she just doesn't want to be out with you right now. Maybe she doesn't want to be out after she was re-traumatized. Hey, idiot, maybe that's why. But anyway, of course he does what he always does, and he pushes until she says yes. Because that's what they always do. That's what abusers always do. They don't want to catch a charge, so they just push and beg, or whatever. They just keep going until your no turns into a yes so they don't get in trouble. That is called abuse. And when it comes to being sexual, that is sexual assault.
I know, but I was dying to try the new place.
Yeah, but they heard how we talked about it.
Call them.
No, they're already there. They ordered like 14 appetizers. You know my sister.
And during the scene, she says something like, it's been a week, but I don't need to complain to you because you've already been through it. And he just sits there watching her like, without saying anything. The entire, I'm actually serious. Not even a sound. I don't even think he makes a sound. And then continues to watch her touch up her bruise with makeup. Just looking at her like, I'm going to count those as 2 separate red flags. She brings up that she's been going through a hard time. And then she says, but I don't need to bother you with that, which isn't good. Clearly, there's something you need to talk to your partner. That's a red flag if you can't. So maybe that's a 3rd red flag. And he does not by any means try to tell her, oh no, please do tell me or whatever. Like, he actually doesn't care. He clearly does not care because he's not like, oh no, you can tell me or whatever. He doesn't even nod. He just, because that's all they ever do is stare at her. And then watches her touch up her black eye. Just sitting there like, another red flag. Why are you not concerned watching this? What's wrong with you? They get to the restaurant. Ryle sees Lily and Atlas come out of the bathroom. He's upset. Atlas is upset too. But Atlas is upset because he thinks that Ryle hit Lily on purpose, which he did, but we don't know that yet. So he attacks Ryle. Ryle is like, why am I being attacked? And if he had one single brain cell, he'd know it's because he showed up with a bandaged hand. And she showed up with a black eye. And Lily has a history of being abused. So, I mean... but he doesn't know, or we don't know that he knows, at least. And so he's like, why am I being attacked? And, you know, he could have just been like, like questioning why he's being attacked, or like just been like, like protected himself but not like hit back, or even just defended himself in general. But no, he has to throw the blow of, this the homeless boy you wasted your virginity on? Like, you could have just not done that. This is actually the stupidest man to ever exist. Just want you to know that. Also, random, not part of this. He is not humble. Like, he knows what he looks like and he is not afraid to talk about it. That voice break was not on purpose. I just thought I would roll with it. Time skip. I forgot what happens in between. But does it matter? Because he proposes at his sister's baby delivery. How long have they been together? Hey, I'm gonna need to know how long they've been together. Colleen, how long have they been together? At his sister's baby delivery, she gives birth. Ryle is rocking the baby. He seems happier than we've ever seen him so far. Which is interesting. I don't know. I kind of wonder why that is. But anyways, he's the happiest we've seen him so far. He's rocking the baby or whatever. And I don't know if the good mood just caught up to him or what, or if he was like, oh, perfect time to, you know what I mean? Sometimes abusers do things on purpose. Sometimes they know what they're doing is manipulative or bad, and they do it anyway. And sometimes they're completely unaware whatsoever. They do not know at all what they are doing. They're just doing what's natural to them, and they think they're being completely rational and normal. And they're not, but they don't realize that. Who knows what he falls under? It kind of feels like he doesn't know, but at the same time, sometimes the things that he does are so malicious. I think maybe so. But then I think he probably doesn't know that what he's doing is bad. Yeah, probably not. Anyway, what was I saying? Alyssa, the sister and the friend, I can't believe I hadn't said her name either. She asked if they're going to have kids, and then immediately realizes that she probably shouldn't have asked that, but he answers anyways. And I think he says something like, well, I'm not going to force her to put on a dress and have my babies unless she wanted to, in which case I propose right now. Whatever. And she makes a face like, as she should, because that's weird. And eventually ends up like walking over like with intent, and she's like, no, what are you doing? And then he proposes, and it was cringy and I hate it. And by the way, immediately after it goes to the wedding scene where they're kissing. We'll get into that in the bad writing, but it's crazy. He proposed at his sister's baby delivery. I think that's so crazy. Do you want to know why? I just thought these were common things that we knew not to do. Like, there's common rules we know, like, don't wear white to a wedding unless you're the bride. Don't propose to someone else at your sister's baby delivery. Like, or, whoa, not someone else, anyone. Don't, oh wow, didn't like that. Time, skip, time there at the house. Lily's mom is upset that she didn't get to go to the wedding. And this is not part of this, but I want to talk about it real quick. Lily's really weird with her mom, and I understand that her mom may not be the best, but we haven't really seen anything about her mom other than she was abused. And the way that Lily talks to her mom is pretty horrible, I gotta say. Anyways, Lily's mom is weird, and she says weird things about Lily having babies, which we will talk about later. While they're having this conversation, Ryle's in the next room charging Lily's phone. We hear a breaking sound, a dropping sound. Lily's like, what the heck's going on? Hangs up, goes to the next room. Ryle is not. He's very clearly upset, and you want to know why. Do you want to know why? You don't want to know why. He dropped Lily's phone Don't really know how you manage that, but whatever. I will judge everything he does, even if it seems normal. I don't care. If you don't know, Atlas visited Lily's shop after the whole fight and told her that he's sorry, that he shouldn't have done that, but he still thinks that she's being abused. So just in case she ever needs him, he writes down his number and puts that card in the back of Lily's phone where no one can see it and only she knows where it is for if she ever needs him. Ryle dropped Lily's phone because he's an idiot and sees the card, and obviously he's not pleased. Lily tells him that it's nothing. However, he does not believe her, and he plays off being cool. Like he's cool. He's like, right, it's nothing. Then he gets up and immediately throws the phone across the room and leaves. And by the way, that's physical abuse. I don't know if you know that, but that counts as physical abuse because it's physical violence. It's physical abuse because you are trying to intimidate and scare by physically throwing things around them. It's physical violence, physical abuse. After doing so, he runs off. However, Lily cannot let things go, and she is scared, so she follows him, trying to apologize and patch things up. We'll talk about her issues with this later, but it's pretty bad. That's one of her issues. She can't let things go, so she keeps following him. He's like, stop, 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 and like freaking out. They're both doing bad things. Him more so, obviously. And he runs out and he's trying to run down the stairs to get away from her. But he gets angry that she won't leave him alone, and he throws her down the stairs. Like, you didn't have to do that. You could have shut yourself behind a door. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have to throw her down the stairs because he didn't push her. He didn't trip her. He pushed her. He grabs her and throws her down the stairs. Physically grabs, throws. That's like, once again, we don't know it's on purpose necessarily. It looks like she just falls, so it looks a little bit more suspicious than the last time. Afterwards, he takes her upstairs, puts her in bed, doesn't take her to the hospital, asks her a few questions to make sure she doesn't have like amnesia or something, right? And then immediately tells her to tell him that it was nothing.
Tell me it's nothing.
Oh, it's nothing.
While she's still barely conscious and even there to begin with. And she's literally crying. She obviously has a concussion. She's banged up. She's talking about how much she hurts. And he's like, okay, tell me it's nothing. Tell me it's nothing. Really scary too. He's trying to intimidate her. Like the people who like them together, I hate you. Because there are people, by the way, I'm not just saying, like, there are people like that. What a world we live in. Time skip. Lily's getting dinner ready. Ryle walks in. And you may not immediately realize something is off, but on like my other watches, I've realized there is an immediate red flag. He walks in immediately drinking. And he's smiling, but it seems a little bit off compared to his usual ones, and he's drinking immediately upon entering. Anyways, he has a newspaper in his hand. And he forces her to read it. In the newspaper, Lily won like number 7 or something, and like the best places around the city or whatever it was. It has to do with shops, right? She got like number 7 for like best whatever. However, Atlas got number 1 for his restaurant, Roots. Because he was number 1, I assume, he was given an interview, and in the interview, in the paper, he says that it's named Roots because of Lily. Ryle obviously has found out, and he pretends like everything is fine until she's not complying and listening to him, and then he becomes forceful, pushy, aggressive, and scary. He's being all playful like, oh, come on, and then she clearly won't listen to him, so he says, read it.
I don't like that kind of stuff. No, baby, I made dinner. It's gonna get cold, and I don't.
She's extremely uncomfortable, the most uncomfortable we've seen her so far, and tries to leave, but he forces her to read it. And the most aggressive and scary we've seen him in this entire movie. It's actually chilling to watch, coming from me, who, like, I'm not sensitive to those kinds of things, not a trigger for me or anything, but it was giving me chills and making me like it was terrifying, honestly. A good actor, by the way. Acting skills. That's crazy. What he found out is not her fault. Atlas is the one that wrote it, and this happened when they were kids. She can't change that or control it, and she shouldn't have to. That was in the past. She didn't even know Ryle to begin with. But that doesn't matter, because the issue here is that he sees claim laid onto what he sees as his, because she has a tattoo of the Roots. He realized that the tattoo that he loved so much about her symbolized her love for another man, and he chased her, pinned her down, and tried to rip it off of her skin or bite over it, in an attempt to lay claim over what he sees as another man's claim. She's about to cry. She's shaking. He's intentionally intimidating her. She's trying to leave. She's begging him to stop. She's doing everything you're supposed to do, and he does not care. He doesn't care about catching a charge anymore or whatever, because he's blinded by the fact that that is another man's property in his eyes, and that's not acceptable. Because she's his. He knows she has abuse trauma, and he doesn't care. He forces her to kiss him anyway. He tries to assault her. He tries to rip the tattoo off with his teeth or bite over it, but I think he was trying to rip it off. And she ends up running away, but I counted how many times she tells him to stop, indirectly and directly. Are you ready? She tells him no, asks him, begs him to stop. 43 times. And there's not much more to get into this. She begs him to stop 43 times. She blocks his way to hurting her. She tells him no. She tells him to stop. She tries to run away. He pins her down. He fights her, blocking him. He tells her, I haven't shown you how much I love you. And while she's begging for him to look at her and see who she is, to realize that he's hurting her, the person he loves, a human being, his eyes are only locked on her tattoo, the claim of ownership from another man on her skin. So he ignores her, fights her, and tries to rip it off. I think this is probably the most insidious scene I've seen in a movie like this, and anything like this, other than those horrible movies where they like give you like graphic rape scenes, which we don't need to talk about. I think this is the most insidious because it's not even, and this is still bad, but it's not even just rape for the sake of rape. Even though it's all about power. It always is. That's all that rape is. What makes this so insidious, because all of it is, all assault is, obviously, what makes this one so much more to me is because of why. He's not just doing so because he wants power, doesn't see women as equal or whatever. He's doing it to a person that he supposedly loves, that he's married to, all this stuff, that trusts him, because he sees her as claimed by another man. So he tries to reclaim her by physically and sexually abusing her, by trying to rip off her skin where he sees she's claimed by someone else, and then tries to assault her, trying to restake his claim. What I'm trying to say is that she, to him, isn't even really there. She might as well be an object, like a chair, or just anything that's not a human, because this is all a performance for a man. It's like she's not even there, even a conscious human being, as if she's just a toy or something. Because this is all for the other man. This is all for Atlas. A show of dominance, of, haha, this is mine, you don't get to have it. It's not even about her. She doesn't even matter here. It's because he doesn't like Atlas. So he's trying to get back at Atlas by abusing another human being. I know this is dark, but this is basically the Omegaverse. That may seem insensitive to say, but it actually is. And I think it might help some people understand exactly what's going on. It very much is like the Omegaverse. Like, think of the tattoo as like a mating bond or whatever, and he's trying to, you know what I mean? Tell me I'm wrong, you can't. Afterwards, while she's trying to like move on and get over it or whatever, he blows up her phone, trying to get her to come back and forgive him, and weaponizes the baby in order to do so. So manipulation. As I was saying, he's a manipulator. He's great at it. It's like second nature to him. Even though he does all of this, she's an idiot, and she welcomes him back with basically open arms. Like, I don't care if she doesn't end up going back to him at the end. She welcomes him with open arms back into her and the baby's life. She's crazy. We'll talk about it in literally very soon. I guess she asked him to come back over to build the crib in a scene that, oh my God, we were going to talk about, because I just realized how bad it was like yesterday. After they're done building the crib, he goes to leave. She calls him back over because she's an idiot. There's a super vulnerable moment that should not have happened. And during this moment, where she's finally letting him touch her again, and it's a very, very vulnerable moment, he tells her to come back. He says, come back, and I'm never gonna do it again. Okay, buddy. I believe that you believe that. I do. Yeah, buddy, I'm sure. Let's see if you still decide to go, even when she doesn't take you back. It is so clearly obvious that he's done this before. This is very clearly not his first time. He would not be this advanced, this good at it, this good at manipulating, like hiding it, or just putting it under the rug or whatever, if this was his first time. He has clearly done this before. And he has clearly never sought help. He's never gotten help to change, and he's how old? Like, he's a whole neurosurgeon, and like a good famed one and everything. Do you see the house this dude has? He's clearly old, okay? And he's never sought help. He didn't see it as necessary or needed. Why would he get help just because of this? And like, maybe you could say it's a baby thing. Maybe he has more kids and we don't know about that. But let's say it's because of the baby thing. That is not enough. That is absolutely not enough. That's crazy to think that it is. But Lily thinks that it is. She definitely thinks that it's enough. Which brings us to our next segment because this one is over. Yay, he's abusive. So glad that we got that. Anyway, he's abusive is done. Now let's move on to she's contradictory.
I'm the kind of girl you take home to mama.
How far would you go?
I'm not sure. I'm an unreliable narrator. You could try me.
She is, as a person, just completely contradictory. At the very beginning, she says, I'm the kind of girl that you take home to mama. And then after he says one singular line, she says, you can try me. You can try me, though. What? This is our first, like, red flag of hers, because the rest of the time she's just weird, but this is the first, like, red flag. And the first sign of her just being completely and utterly contradictory. After they decide to be friends, and she says the words, I thought that we were going to be friends. She tells him that he's pushy, and she tells him to stop. And then tells him to kiss her, and makes out with him in the middle of the street. And then says, okay, okay, friend.
Please help me.
She calls him friend. Says, let's be friends. I thought you said that we would be friends. Kisses him because he says that if he gets one kiss from her, that'll get her out of his system. Then walks away because they're just friends, right? And then sees him at the party with another woman, gets jealous and walks by him and takes off her jacket to expose more skin to get his attention and make him jealous. So she wants his attention, right? That's literally the entire point. She sees him, and the entire time she's not paying attention to anyone else. She just sees him with someone else. And she immediately leaves, walks by him, takes off her jacket, makes eye contact, walks away. Her plan works. He follows her. And she tells him, stop flirting with me. I thought we were friends. Motherfucker. What are you talking about? At this point, I literally thought I was completely crazy and that I was missing something. I was like, I must be missing something because this is not it. But then she leaves, which makes no sense because she was just trying, whatever. And he follows her. And then she says, you've got to stop this. Stop following me. Stop looking at me like that. Stop showing up at my shop. Stop following me around this party. Okay. Then he tells her to shut up because he's trying. She says okay. And then agrees to have sex with him? You just said no. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. No. Definitely not. So they go to have said sex. And then she stops him and says that she doesn't want to have sex. Because she doesn't do casual. You just agreed to have sex. But then when he walks away to get ready for bed, she asks if he has anything she can wear and starts undressing and lets him dress her in his pajamas. I'm actually not kidding. This has to be the worst movie ever made. I have never a single time in my life seen someone flip-flop go back and forth so quickly one after another. I'm not kidding. For like 10 minutes straight, it's just her going yes, no, 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 yes, yes, no, 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 and I don't understand why. Because she's supposed to be painted in a good light. Like, she's not supposed to be the bad guy here. She's supposed to be the victim and nothing's wrong with her. And she's supposed to be quirky and silly and everything. This is horrendous. Like, I can't tell you how much I would hate her as a person if she existed. Like, sure, she's the victim here, right? What she's doing is technically, it doesn't matter because of what Ryle is doing. But in any other relationship that's not abusive or whatever, she is insane. Doesn't know how to communicate. Literally, she does not know what communication is. She has to be the worst communicator on the planet. She never tells the truth. She lies. She doesn't communicate. She doesn't say anything. And then she says yes and then no and then no and then yes and then yes and then takes it back and then no and then takes it back. And it's like, look, you can take back consent whenever you want. But if you're going to say yes, no, yes, no, no, yes, no, no, I'm not going to want to be around you anymore because you don't know what you want and you won't communicate that you're struggling or whatever. Because if you're like, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, I'm sorry I'm doing this. There's this, and that. Then I'd be like, okay, let's work it out. And again, we only see this with Ryle. So who knows if she does it with other, people. But it's impossible for her not to because she does it every time we see her, really. So, and she doesn't know what a healthy relationship is or looks like. So this leads me to believe this is just how she is in all romantic and platonic relationships. And wow, is that not a way to act as a person. I literally cannot get over this bundle of scenes, though. It's the most insane part of the movie to me, where she agrees to just be friends with him, then sees him at the party with another woman, gets jealous, tries to get his attention by taking off her jacket. She succeeds. He comes over just like she wanted. And then she tells him to leave her alone. And then she walks away. He follows her. And she says, you have to stop doing everything you're doing. Stop following me everywhere. Leave me alone completely. When she just wanted his attention. He tells her to shut up because he likes her. Asks if she wants to go somewhere more private to get it on. And she says yes. So they go do the thing she said yes to. And then she says, no, I don't want to because I don't do casual. Meaning she never intended to actually have sex with him, even though she said yes to it. So then he goes to leave to stop it. And she gets undressed and tries to seduce him and lets him dress her in his clothes and then gets in bed with him. You are not well. You think I'm joking? I'm not. She is insanely unwell. This isn't cute. This isn't flirting. This isn't teasing. This isn't playing or dancing. This is mentally unwell. This is unhealthy. I realize that this is probably straight people trying to be like, look at their little game. Look how they're dancing around each other, playing with each other. It's supposed to be teasing. This is supposed to be teasing. It's supposed to be a fun game. All it is mental unwellness, an unhealthy relationship, toxic, miscommunication, mental unwellness. There's flirting, there's teasing, there's playing a game, there's having fun, and then there's not listening to consent. And that's all that they do to each other. She gives mixed signals constantly, unhealthily, constantly, and he just ignores whatever he doesn't like. Like, keep in mind, just because she's playing this weird game and doesn't know how to, choose what she wants, make up her mind, be normal, that does not give Ryle the right to act the way that he does. This is also why Henry Cavill pissed me off so much about the whole Me Too movement thing. That's crazy. Still need to make a whole video about him. He was scared of the Me Too movement because he's you can't even ask a woman out anymore because then she'll play hard to get. You'll play it too and then she calls you a creep and it's what am I supposed to do? Not play the game? Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah! If anyone says, leave me alone, stop, or whatever, you take them at their word, and if they don't like it and find you weird, they're the weird one, you're in the right. Just because they're playing this weird, hard to get game does not give you the right to keep playing it with them because you don't know if they're actually trying to play that game or not. Unless they explicitly say that they are doing that, you are going off of an assumption. And if that goes well, you are lucky, my dude. Because it can easily go wrong because you didn't assume correctly. Hard to get is only fun when both parties are aware and consenting, and that is it. I'm not saying it's not fun, but you need to be aware so you can consent because you can't consent without awareness. And if you can't consent, it's not consensual, which means it's not good. I can't believe this is probably a hot take. This is the coldest take. I'm losing my mind. I don't know if this fits into the contradictory, contrary thing. I think it kind of does. So I'll keep it in here. Can we talk about her rude-ass comment to Atlas when she says, I'm not your mother? To Atlas when he's asking her to leave Ryle because he thinks that he's hitting her. And yet when he says, and are you turning into yours? She gets upset and tries to leave? Literally shut the fuck up. And for the biggest one, her biggest contradiction and the worst part of the entire movie, she says that she doesn't want to become her mother. And yet not even 9 months after the abuse, she welcomes her abusive husband back with open arms to build the baby crib in a peace offering, in a sign of, I welcome you back because this is your baby too. As if she didn't literally just learn that this man is willing to rip her skin off, pin her down, not listen to a single one of her 43 no's, is pushy and forcefully dominant, abusive in all ways. So what a better role model for a baby. And then when he's about to leave, she welcomes him back, says, do you want to feel the baby kicking? Literally saying, hey, this is your baby too. So even if we're not going to be together, come feel the baby kicking, be in the baby's life. Hey, abusive man, come be an abusive father. This man who has no care for her body, no care for her as a person, she invites to touch her body again and feel his baby move inside of her, as if that isn't going to set off his possessiveness once again. You are going out of your way to fuel his possessiveness as if that isn't what got him to hurt you. And it's not just possessiveness towards you, it's towards the baby too. Then you have the baby and tell him you want a divorce, and you know that the only way to get him to listen to you is to say that this isn't for you, but for her. Because you know that he doesn't respect you as a person, see you enough as a person to listen to you and what you want. And you still want that kind of man to not only be around your child, but to raise them. And yet you insist you don't want to become your mother. You are welcoming your abuser into your daughter's life. Sound familiar? You went into detail about what he did to you to phrase it as if it happened to your daughter to get him to listen to you. And you still don't understand why he should be nowhere near your daughter. As you were explaining the atrocities he has done. It ends with us, except the only thing that's ended here is your abuse. This is why you shouldn't have had the child. You're focused on yourself and your own abuse without giving a shit about the kid because you need to be focusing on yourself. Like, I'm all for that. You should be focusing on yourself. That's why you shouldn't have had the kid, but you did. So now, yes, I will blame you for making another human suffer. You've been exposed to abuse your entire life. Your parents' relationship was extremely abusive and you would watch your mother be beaten, maybe even raped. The first healthy relationship you had was ended by your father almost beating him to death. Your mother still doesn't understand the abuse she suffered and the effect that it has on you, that you grew up seeing it. She still actively talks about your father kindly as if he wasn't abusive to the both of you. Your husband you thought you were safe with has thrown you down the stairs, hit you, thrown things, ignored your begging, chased you, pinned you down, tried to rip off your skin because it reminded him of another man's ownership of you, tried to rape you, manipulated you into coming back, and then you find out that that's the same man that got you pregnant. Do you honestly think that after all that, you should go through pregnancy, go through birth, raise a child into a healthy, happy person for at least 18 years. Stay up all night, sleep deprived, absolutely miserable for who knows how long. Focus on a baby instead of your whole life and dreams. You just opened that flower shop, you ready to throw that into the toilet? To only be seen as a mother instead of a person now forever? Be constantly worried for your child's safety, never knowing if you're actually doing a good job parenting them or not? Not knowing how to raise a child to begin with because you don't know what a healthy relationship looks like? You think I'm being too harsh? She didn't see a single red flag of Ryle's before he started abusing her. Yeah, she stayed even after he started abusing her, but she never saw the warning signs to begin with. Also, I'm sure she intended on having kids at one point, and the fact that she got married to Ryle insinuates that she was planning on having kids with him, so she was planning on raising her kids around this red flag of a man, even if he hadn't ever started abusing her like he did. Because she didn't see the signs. Do you think that someone who doesn't or can't notice the dangerous red flags of a person should be having kids? Do you think that someone who finally does find out that someone is abusive and decides to keep them in their child's life should be having kids? That baby will grow into an adult person who is raised by someone who abuses people, hits them, ignores their nose, pushes and forces them into doing what he wants, sees women as unimportant, easily manipulates people, and doesn't care for anyone but himself. And someone who doesn't understand healthy versus unhealthy relationships and what abuse is, and is focused purely on herself because she had a kid when she shouldn't have. It is about you and your body because it is inside of you and your body. When it no longer is and is in fact its own person, you have just chosen to mistreat a child who will grow into a person who mistreats others because that's what you taught them. As for other things that are wrong with her but aren't because of her contrariness, is that a word? Because of trauma, she cannot let things go. If something is wrong and you're upset, she chases you and frantically tries to make things better. She will never allow you space because she can't handle the thought of you being upset with her. So she will chase you and follow you down even when you tell her to stop because of her own fear and anxiety. I've known people like that, and while it's not their fault for it existing in the first place, that is harmful behavior and that is not how you treat people. It will also never help and only ever make things worse. Of course here, I'm not blaming Lily for this, like, really at all, because Ryle is a horrible person. But, like, it's not a healthy quality to have, and she, obviously, it doesn't stop there. You know what I mean? I do not like Lily Blossom Bloom, but we are done with this segment. Which one do you think we're on to next? I only said it 300 times. That is the end of She's Contradictory, and now we move on to the best part. Bad writing.
Maraschino cherries stay in your stomach for like 7 years.
This is one I've complained about several times. And I'm sure that Aaron was tired of me talking about it. We immediately jump from scene to scene constantly. I hate it. One that sticks in my mind the most is the wedding scene. Because look, I understand that the movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes, but like, one, you chose the pacing. Two, if you're making a movie that's 2 hours and 10 minutes and you still jump from the engagement scene to the wedding kissing scene and never show anything else of the wedding or just any build up to it or whatsoever, you're not a good writer or director or whatever. Couldn't fit any of the wedding in because the movie's 2 hours and 10 minutes, and yet several times in that 2 hours and 10 minutes, it's just random sex scenes for absolutely no reason that hold nothing and no point. Like, I'm serious. The sex scenes are bad and they have no point. Maybe you could argue in the beginning it has a point so that you can show that they have some kind of tension between them because they're not together yet, but you're just building a whole relationship around sex, which is such an L. So boring. Also, they knew each other for like 2 seconds. Also, he was abusive. Also, he was taking advantage of her. Also, I don't like her either. And every other time, there's no point. I'm serious. There's no point, and it sucks. In the bad way. In the scene that they first meet where he decides to make the sexual moves on her and she's so weird and says no and then says yes, please help me. Anyway, it is so boring. The entire point is to like establish some kind of relationship between them and give that tension, right? And I'm not kidding. There is no tension. There's no sexual tension. There's no romantic tension. I don't want them together. I'm not interested. I am bored. I don't even want it to end because like that sexual tension makes me uncomfortable. Because there was nothing happening, so I didn't feel anything except for bored. There's no sexual tension. It's boring. There's nothing leaving you on the edge of your seat or excited. There is no buildup. There's no chemistry or reaction. There is nothing. It feels like you're either waiting for it to be over, like in the uncomfortable way, or you're just casually watching and you're just like, okay. And considering that's all that we get to establish some kind of relationship between them, some kind of desire for you to want them to be together for some reason, because the whole point is you're supposed to be like, you know, when it comes down to Ryle versus Atlas, you are not supposed to want Ryle to be the winning one here. You're supposed to want Atlas. And I mean, at first I was going to say that they did a good job of that because Atlas is amazing, but they really didn't, because how is it an amazing job trying to like get that to happen when they don't make Ryle cool at all? Like, they don't make you like Ryle at all. Sorry. At least for people with sins. The only people that like Ryle are the people who are like, ooh, I like red flags. I don't see the red flags. I'm colorblind. You're weird. Those are the only people that like him. I think that says everything that we need to know. They didn't do a good job with wanting you to choose Atlas because it was never a choice. There's this guy who's terrible and this guy who's amazing. There's no like, ooh, who do you choose? Like, this isn't like Jesse versus whoever the other guy was in Hannah Montana. Okay, like, I knew who I wanted. And the second and maybe most important part of all of this is the fact that her name is Lily Blossom Bloom and she runs a flower shop. Colleen, you can always rewrite works. We all make writing mistakes. There's something called editing, though. My name is Lily Blossom Bloom, and my dream is to run a flower shop. Also, the flower shop is ugly, by the way. Like, it sucks. Like, it's ugly, and it's bad. And it doesn't look like a flower shop. If I went in there, I would not think I would be buying flowers. However, this is the one that I think irritates me the most. Inappropriate use of a meaningful song. Why is Strangers by Ethel Cain in the beginning of the movie? Why is Strangers by Ethel Cain playing when she's looking at a building? Why is Strangers by Ethel Cain in the movie to begin with? Why is Strangers by Ethel Cain? No, really though. One, why is the song in the movie to begin with? Because I see no connection. And like, no connection. And two, why is it in the scene that it is? Why is it playing when she's leaving her father's funeral and going up on top of a building to look out at the view? Why are we playing Strangers by Ethel Cain in that scene? It may not seem like a big deal, but it seems that they only make poor choices in this movie. And the whole point of movies is that it's an art form. It's completely an art form. You can't do anything else. Like, movies are very particular. You can't replicate that feeling with anything else. And there are a lot of choices that you need to make. The way that you move the camera. Sometimes the way that an actor blinks changes the entire scene. It is a very sensitive process. It's very difficult, and that's why everyone involved deserves their flowers. It's a very hard job. And so I understand when everything's not perfect, though you do have to accept the fact that it may completely destroy the mood, but they seem to ruin like everything here. Like, there are a few good things, and I'll go over that at the very end because it deserves to be at the very end. It's the shortest segment. But I shouldn't have to say there are a few good things that we could go over. Like, don't worry, there are still some good things about a movie. It should be the opposite. It should be, oh, there are a few bad things, and we'll go over that. Like, that's crazy. That was the one that irritated me the most. Now for the one that I loved the most. Horrible conversations.
I once tried that maraschino cherry stay in your stomach for like 7 years.
Really?
I didn't know that about maraschino cherries.
No fucking way, boy.
Motherfucker, what are you talking about? Is this a conversation that's actually happening? When I was watching it, I literally couldn't believe my eyes. Since I haven't uploaded the video, I'll just put the scene where I'm reacting to that on the screen right now. What was going through your head? Colleen Hoover, writer of the movie, or the director, or whatever, that put this in the movie. This is actually the worst dialogue I've ever seen in my life, I think. I'm not kidding.
I once tried that maraschino cherry stay in your stomach for like 7 years. Really? I didn't know that about maraschino cherries.
Also, I'd like to go over some of my favorite lines. Was it a woman? Or a man? Or a man? I'm supportive. I lie. Well, you have a really nice view. I do. And this movie has the very popular case of random lip bite syndrome. I say at one point while reacting to it that this movie, and I said this at the very beginning, that this movie is very like Gen X millennial woman centered. And I came to a very funny conclusion. Considering Colleen's age, I think this is her trying to be with the times and hip with the kids. It can be very difficult for older people to understand Gen Z humor and the Gen Z eye, like what Gen Z wants to see, right? So the generation below that would be within her reach some way is millennial. And this doesn't necessarily have to go under the bad writing because this is opinion in the way. No, this is all opinion. This is opinion in the way of like, I don't like certain things I find cringy, but not everyone finds those things cringy. And are they necessarily harmful? Some are, some aren't. This movie wholly seems to have the Gen X millennial woman eye. Because there is a difference between like the Gen X woman and the millennial woman, but there also are many similarities. I mean, the same as like with millennials and Gen Z. There are serious similarities and distinct differences. What is realized? SS, indeed, nice. But between the extremely random and seemingly forced lip bites and the quirkiness of the characters, yeah. This is a Gen X millennial woman movie. The quirkiness is actually out of control, and I thought we moved past that as a society, but apparently not. Because the reason why I find the quirkiness cringy instead of just whatever is not harmful is because often the quirkiness came from the I'm not like other girls trope. And obviously that's harmful because what's the problem with being like other girls, right? Why do you have to be so different? Why is that important? I'm fine with being like every other girl because I don't find other girls bad. I find other humans bad, but not because they have like a vagina or wear makeup. Lily is constantly saying things she didn't mean to say out loud. And there's one scene in particular that will never leave my mind. And it is actually the worst scene in the entire movie, in my opinion, that doesn't have to do with abuse. When I think of the movie, I think of this scene. When I was telling my friend about this movie so that we could watch it together so I can make them suffer, I told them about this scene. This is the worst and best scene in the entire movie. And it's just quirkiness. The friend comes into the flower shop. And she's so silly and goofy, and she dances with the broom and sings with the broom, and she's so silly. And she can't control her face, guys. She's like, ugh, sorry. It just does that sometimes. I didn't mean to do that. And all because she was told that this shop that she burst into and wasn't welcomed in was a flower shop and she doesn't like flowers. Imagine asking someone what the shop's going to be, and someone's doing hard laborious work to get the shop up and running, and they're like, oh, it's a flower shop, and you're like, oh. And then having the audacity to be like, oh, it just does that sometimes, sorry. I would leave out of pure embarrassment. Someone came up to my table at a Denny's last night and just started like talking to me and my sister because they clearly weren't like all there, and they were making us uncomfortable, so we left because he was making us uncomfortable. And I have thought about it since, about how bad I feel that I didn't just talk to him because he clearly just wanted to talk and wasn't being weird. So if I did something like that, I would never show my face in the town again. And she doesn't just do that. She goes, oh, sorry, my face just does that. I just hate flower shops. I find them depressing, and goes off on a whole spiel about why she hates flowers to the person putting in hard manual labor to get the shop up and running to make it a flower shop. You are the most annoying person. Makes sense why her and Lily become friends then. Because then we get into what the beauty of a flower is. It highlights the pain and the tension. It's storytelling. Please put the clip up. I can't do this.
The beauty of flowers has been lost, right? It's like the order on my takeout now. It's right? Highlighting the pain and the tension and the fact that it's fleeting. It's storytelling.
The friend is an idiot, and that's why her and Lily are friends. She doesn't understand why Ryle puts the address of the flower shop in the delivery portion when he orders some flowers, as if he and Lily haven't been, like, eyeing each other ever since they saw each other. And also the first scene where they're around other people, his sister and her husband. He literally insinuates that they had sex. She is literally an idiot. She's like, he's such a dumbass. He put the delivery address as the address of the shop. Oh my god, my brother's so silly, guys. You are stupid. There's quirkiness, and then there's just, you're an idiot, you're stupid. Stop. I will never get over her introducing him to her mother. And this is my friend who I now sleep with, so. Do you know that you said that out loud? I do know that I said that out loud. Stop doing this to me. Anyway, back to the ever so loved rooftop scene. I skipped a little bit. The symbolism is at an all-time 0. And Lily's so quirky, guys. She's told to just write down 5 things that she loves about her father. And it's not that hard, right? And she had all this time to prepare before getting to the funeral, before even coming to the place to go to the funeral, right? And yet when we get to the funeral, the very next scene, because they don't know how to transition between scenes, she goes up to the podium and she unfolds a napkin in which she wrote 5 bullet points with nothing else because she didn't write anything down. And she knew she didn't write anything down, but she still opened it at the podium as if words would magically appear. She chose a napkin to write down 5 bullet points, to write down 5 things she loves about her father. She chose a napkin. She chose a napkin. People were looking up at her, opening up a napkin, setting it down, and then leaving the premises. She is so quirky, guys. You wouldn't understand. Because she's not like other girls, and you are. You are like other girls, but she's not. You wouldn't get it. Only quirky girls write down on a napkin instead of a note like a normal person. Or, hey, on their phone's note app. Quirkiness is a disease, guys. Don't you forget it. We eventually find out that Ryle and Alyssa's brother died very early on, at a very young age, because Ryle accidentally shot him with a gun because they were playing cowboys, and Ryle found the gun, thought it was a toy, shot him right in the chest. I'm sorry. It's not funny. It's just crazy because I didn't understand until she said he didn't even know it was a real gun. He thought it was a fake one, and I understood what happened, and I went, oh! Like, I thought it was just like a misfire, like they had it and they pulled the trigger on accident, no aiming or whatever. But no, he straight up was like, it's a toy gun, I'm laughing because it's absurd and crazy. Anyways, and that's at the end of the movie. And a very horrible scene we will talk about. But rewatching it, you realize things you didn't before, right? When you rewatch something, you realize things you didn't know before. Such as, in the very first scene we see him in, the reason he's so upset kicking over chairs is because he was operating, because he's a neurosurgeon, on a little boy who died in the exact same way his brother did. And Lily literally says, I can't imagine what it's going to be like to be that little boy who lived. Symbolizing him. And then he gets choked up and says, it's going to ruin him for life, is what it's going to do. Symbolism is at an all-time zero. Big, fat zero. And it just happened to happen right before he met her. Cohen's really bad at this. She writes these like crazy happenstances. Like it's crazy that this happened right at this time. She does it all the time. And then the symbolism of the napkin. The quirky napkin where she wrote down 5 bullet points, 5 things she loves about her dad, but didn't write anything because she couldn't think about anything, right? And she leaves those 5 empty bullet points on a napkin right on his grave to make sure that she litters on the graveyard ground. Like, it was symbolism enough to just say goodbye to him forever. That was enough. You could have stopped there. And in fact, never included the napkin to begin with. That would have been my favorite, actually. Maybe it was a biodegradable napkin. It was bleached, so no. When he tells her to tell him more naked truths, aka just swapping traumas, the first thing that she says, the first thing that comes to mind is, the first guy I had sex with was homeless. And then she follows that comment up with, I think we're supposed to say temporarily unhomed or displaced.
Brother,
Think it's over? No. Because he responds to that with, you're making me jealous of a homeless man. And then proceeds to say, I can't go on my turn now. I can't go on my turn now because I can't top that. Because that was both sexy and disturbing.
Please help me.
That was both sexy and disturbing. To think about you having sex equals sexy. Apparently. That's crazy. And the fact that you had sex with a homeless guy is disturbing. What? What about not having a house makes you unfuckable? Like, that logic, though. Also, I know that she didn't say it, but it's just the fact that when that happened, she was a minor, and he says that it's sexy for me. That's, yeah. But back to the, that's both sexy and disturbing thing. Do you just think of sex and get horny? Can you not hear the word sex without getting aroused? Because I call that a problem. It's just a thing that happens. I don't get it. And of course, don't you forget it. She says, I'm the kind of girl you take home to mama. He says one line. And she immediately folds and says, you can try me. You can try me. You can do whatever you want to me, actually. Because I'm an unreliable narrator. You're so quirky, silly, goofy. Oh my goodness. I'm the kind of girl you take home to mama. How far would you go? I don't know. I'm an unreliable narrator. You can try me. Has good writing died? How dare I stop writing my John Locke fic because I thought my writing was bad when this exists? I never should have stopped and I should continue it. And don't forget that they include the main character calling the other main character pushy and framing it as if it's a silly, goofy thing because he's a silly, goofy guy. As if he's not literally harassing someone that's told him no multiple times. And this is why we never see abuse coming or red flags. This trope is enjoyed because we're told as kids that, oh, he's hurting you because he likes you. He's harassing you because he likes you. Pulling your hair because he likes you. He's making you miserable because he likes you. He's beating you up because he likes you. And boys will be boys. And they're never told to change their behavior. Absolutely not. It is encouraged. So they'll keep doing it forever as they get older. And women will learn to see it as a quirky, silly, goofy thing that he does instead of the red flag that it is. That they don't care about your comfort, safety, or feelings. They just want what they want and they'll push until you give in. That's why a lot, if not most people, don't understand that sexual coercion, wearing someone down until they say yes, even though they've already said no one time, multiple times, doesn't matter, is rape. Ryle says, just one kiss is all I need to get you out of my system, please. And when I tell you that, that's the exact same thing as just the tip. Back to how symbolism is dead. In a flashback, Atlas is talking to Lily and they tried to go back. They try to do like a call back.
I mean, the roots are the most important part of the plant.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that about roots. That's cool.
I went through that maraschino cherry senior summit for like 7 years. Really? I didn't know that about maraschino cherries. Really? I didn't know that about roots.
And the symbolism is supposed to be that they're talking about something important, right? She's talking about roots, and that's like super important because that whole conversation it becomes extremely important, right? And it's supposed to symbolize like the difference between Ryle and Atlas, because like when Ryle said it and then when Atlas said it, and you know what's so funny? Imagine this isn't even symbolism or a callback, and they're just the worst writer in history. There's no right answer to this. Every answer is bad. I just found a piece of moss in my hair. Either you tried to make it symbolic and you tried to include symbolism, or you're just a bad writer, even though that's also bad writing. My point is you're a bad writer either way, okay? Do not get me started on the whole trope we were talking about a second ago. The trope of the man telling the rambling woman to shut up. I like you. And then they're like, okay, go on. This man just told you to shut up while you were in the middle of talking. And that gets you off. I love it when men are misogynistic to me. Like, it's my favorite thing. Don't be misogynistic towards me. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't do anything that a man can do, okay? Also, I love me some misogyny in the bedroom. If you write that trope of the woman's just talking, rambling, whatever. Like, if someone's rambling that doesn't give you permission to just full on interrupt them and tell them to shut up. Whoa. Also, she wasn't exactly even rambling. She was telling him to stop harassing her. So that's crazy. Shut up. I like you. Sir, but did I ask though? Once he asked her to go out with him, we immediately, and I mean immediately, skip to a rich people porn and sex montage. That's it. It's just them going on rich people porn dates and a few little fun moments, right? Where they're inside domestic, right? But it's mostly rich people dates and then just having sex. The best part though is that wasn't supposed to just be a time skip. That was supposed to show us that they're bonding.
Why ain't no way, boy?
Because the whole montage happens after he says something like, I want to try. I want to give this a shot or whatever. And they put like sweet music over it. And Lily's being so quirky, guys. You don't understand. It seems that every time it comes time to show us their relationship, them forming what at all, and them getting close, we immediately skip to some kind of montage with like sweet music in the background or a time skip before we get back to the story Colleen wants to tell about two people who are together without showing us them getting together or why they want to at all. Like, it's very clear who they want us to root for here. Root, get it? Oh my god, I'm so clear. It's very clear that they want us to root for Atlas, obviously. But, like, it's so clear. It's so clear. And that's just bad writing. In my opinion, that's just bad writing, dude. To make it so overtly obvious who you, like, want them to choose. Like, it's just, it's very biased. And, oh my god. Did I just have a realization? I completely forgot. I was supposed to make a video going over the whole like first person POV versus third person POV in writing, and how like there was like a war on Twitter about that, about like which is better, and some people hate one, some people hate the other, some people are normal and don't really care too much either way. I just realized something about POVs and this movie though. I was going to say it seems so biased in the way that it paints Atlas in a completely angel, good light, and Ryle in this like devil one. Like I don't like it's strange, it feels biased, and I realized it's probably, and this is coming from an assumption, but I haven't read the book. It's probably because the book is written in Lily's POV. And even if not, oftentimes the third person POV is just the author's first person POV. They have a hard time separating it. How do I explain it? Because obviously the third person is coming from like the author, they're the one writing it or whatever. But it becomes overtly obvious that the author is writing in their first person POV rather than just writing a story and like looking over the characters and like what making them do things. They know what they want to tell, the story they want to tell, and they explain it as like a first person. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I barely understand. It's already bad that there are so many time skips, time jumps, and montages all over the place in this movie. It's really bad, and it reminds me of movies like 50 Shades of Grey, how it's constant montages because they don't know how to tell a story. Because they know the end goal where they want to get to, but they can't write the build up to get there. Like they want you to feel the build up to like whatever, but it's like they're like too excited to get to that point. So they just write a bunch of crap until they can get to the point that they like really want to write. I see that a lot while reading fanfic, but it's so funny because I've never read it like this bad before or seen it this bad before until the 50 Shades of Grey movies and this movie and maybe even Twilight. No, Twilight was actually good compared to these. Oh, wow, that's crazy. I would need to rewatch the movies. And I haven't read the book since I was a kid, so who knows? Anyways. And I know that Colleen probably only had so much control over the movie, which actually is worse, because then it means that a bunch of other people were bad writers and bad directors and bad, you know what I mean? So this is just, it's bad. If you want any relationship to mean anything, you have to show us the formation of the relationship and why they're actually into each other. I mean, I guess not always, because there are people that literally cried over this book. I'm not kidding. What there is to cry over, I would not know. I just straight up lied. I would absolutely cry over this book. It's too horrible not to. Also, back to him telling her to date him, they'll probably try and say that as bad as Ryle is, he actually meant it this time. And that's why he seemed sad when he thought that he might lose her later on. But do not let it escape your notice that he only told her to date him after she said she doesn't want to have sex with him because she doesn't do casual. That he didn't tell her to date him until someone else who knew him was warning her not to date him. Until someone who knew him was telling her, do not date him, and in fact, leave him unless you just want to have sex, because he's not a good person to actually want a relationship with. He immediately tells her to date him afterwards. Not even afterwards, during. He loves interrupting people. He saw that he won't get what he wants unless he dates her, and the very next morning tells her to date him. He is abusive. He is malicious. Y'all ready for a hot take, though? Hot take in the bad writing category. You ready? She has a better relationship with Alyssa than she does Alyssa's brother, Ryle. And that's what happens when you write focusing on romance and romantic love itself. You forget that the deepest loves come from a friendship. You just throw in some characters that like each other immediately because of like love at first sight or whatever. Or because you already know that they're going to end up together as the writer. So you skip over everything and make them get together immediately, or just be completely romantically focused immediately instead of telling and showing us why it is that they like each other in the first place. Why it is that they're interested in each other to begin with. Showing us them being friends, building that friendship, and when that romantic switch flips. You're too fast-paced, you're too impatient, you lack reasoning and purpose. Why are you writing them together in the first place? Why do you want these characters together? How do you want the audience to feel about them? How long is this story going to go? So you, without meaning to, make the friends have more chemistry than the actual love interests because of the fact that they aren't supposed to be romantic, so you have to put more effort into showing their relationship building off of something because you see romantic and platonic relationships as something completely separate when they're actually interlinked. And the only reason this isn't seen as a problem is because she's a woman. Put a man in her place and see if you get the same reaction. The reason it's okay is because she's not seen as a threat to the romance between them. Because imagine two women being together. What? I know I already said this in the other segment, I'm pretty sure. But hey, it fits into multiple segments. The sex scenes are purposeless. They mean nothing. They are boring. There is no intimacy. There's no tension. It is boring. I wish it would end, if only to be amused by anything else. It's dog water on board every time. Moving on. Except we're not moving on. Because once again, they immediately skip from when he proposes, she says yes, and they kiss. They immediately skip to the kiss at the wedding. We see none of the wedding except for when they're kissing to whatever it is, whatever it's called, when they're like, you may kiss, now you kiss the bride, and you kiss the bride, or whatever. Well, also, why don't you say it the other way around? You may kiss the groom. Also, you know, they're always skipping scenes. They always are skipping scenes, and I know I didn't include them, all of them here. So I'll put it on the screen if I have the time. And then the one bad thing Atlas did. Like, Atlas is perfect except for this. I was like, no. And it's bad writing. Not because, like, his character or whatever, but because it makes no sense. It was stupid and it was dumb. That scene where Atlas tells Lily that she's going to be a good mother. No, an amazing mother because she was nice to him when he was homeless, so that's who she is. 1, you haven't seen her since you were kids, so you have no idea who she is, by the way. 2, oh my god, that's not how that works. You helped me one time when I was homeless. You gave me food and a place to shower and everything, so that's just who you are. You're nice to a homeless boy, and you're good like that. That means you're going to be an amazing mother. Okay, show me where the link is between helping people when they're homeless and raising a baby from scratch into a whole healthy and happy human being. I've been told I would be a good mother since I came out of my mother. Not weird at all, because I've always been kind. Though they didn't see the actual kindness, it's just what they saw as kind, because I would like care for animals. Yet when I would care for human beings, homeless people, for instance, try to give them money. It was frowned upon, and they didn't like that. I wonder why that is. I was constantly told that I would be a good mother because of my kind heart and my big heart and my old soul. But I know I wouldn't be, and that's why I don't have any. Look, hot take here. And this is not to diss kids, give me a second. Kids don't make anything better, but they do make a lot of things worse. And that's nothing against kids. It's not their fault whatsoever. But what does a child make better? Because oftentimes they'll be like, I cleaned up my act because of the child. So you chose to clean up your act because of something else. You still chose that. I can't think of anything. I'm not saying that there isn't anything. I'm saying I can't think of anything that a child makes better. But I can think of a million things that they make worse. Such as your life. No, it's worth it having kids. Meanwhile, they're miserable. They haven't eaten or slept in 3 days. When was the last time you drank water to begin with? When was the last time you left the house? Like, it's your choice or whatever. But you're clearly miserable and you say that it's worth it. Who are you trying to convince here? Again, not against kids. Why would I be against kids? They're not doing anything wrong. Anyway, point is, I was told the same things, basically, and just in a different context. When I said that I didn't want to have kids, I was looked at like I was a freak, because it's like, but you're so kind, and you love taking care of animals, and you babysit our kids all the time. What do you mean you don't want to have a baby? Because there's a difference. Wanting to foster kittens so that they can find their forever home somewhere else, babysitting a child because I think newborns are cute, and I know that the mother's having a really hard time, does not equal having my own child, raising it from scratch, teaching it how to be a person, and making sure it's happy and healthy forever. Most people aren't up for that task, are not suitable for that task. But you want a kid because you were told to have one, and so it's been in your head since day one. You've idealized that life, you've romanticized how it's going to be, you see it as your purpose. Like, there's almost never a good reason to have a kid. And I say quotes because it always comes from a point of selfishness. And granted, is there any way to have a kid without it being selfish? That is a whole conversation still being had. But I think it's pretty easy to think about how even if there's no way to have a kid without being selfish, there are worse selfish actions than others, such as someone who wants a kid because they like kids, and that's why they want to have one. While that's not right, it would be a lot worse if they were like, I want a kid because I want a little slave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's different. Anyway, point is, being a decent person, good person, you can be the best person, does not equate to being a good mother. They are different things. That's why it's good person, good mother. You can be a good person and a bad mother. You can be a good mother and a bad person. Anyway, moving on. Damn. After Alyssa is told what happened, the first thing we see her saying to Lily is how worried she's been about him her entire life because he's always been such a troubled child. Then she tells Lily what happened to their brother. And granted, Lily did ask her to tell her what happened. So everything's fine then, right? Because she asked. Bitch, no. What a horrible time to include such a scene on the writer or director's part. Showing Lily clearly feeling bad for him and being affected by hearing this news. And after this, we get a shift in how Lily will treat him later on. The writers are trying to get us to feel for him. They never told us why he is the way he is, why he's so sad and traumatized, until after he tries to rape her and physically abuses her. They want you to feel for him like Lily does so that you understand her choices later. Her dumb choices. Alyssa literally says the words, "As his sister, I wish more than anything that you could find a way to forgive him." I have had a sibling do wrong before in this kind of way. I know what abuse in family looks like. And I can confidently say, with my past experiences to back me up, that if my family member, if my sibling ever did something so much as hit someone one time, I would never talk to them again. Family is a forced connection. You don't have a choice but to be around them. So if you end up forming a connection to them, it's because you kind of have to. The human brain is social and tries to make these connections. So if you're given someone who lives with you during the most influential and growing times of your life, you're going to make connection with them, right? That's just natural. If that forced connection overpowers you so much that you hear that that person that you have that connection to hit someone, threw them down the stairs, try to rip off their skin with their teeth, physically abuse them, manipulates them, all of these horrible things, and you still wish that that person they did that to could forgive them, you are dangerous. And if anyone is watching this right now and feels that way, please get help, therapy, not just for everyone else, but for you. you deserve better too. You are a person who is getting hurt by this. You are not just hurting other people, you are hurting yourself, and you deserve better as a human being. Get help. You deserve it. Now factor in that the person her brother did that to is her best friend. Shitty best friend, shitty person. She does end up saying that as her friend, if she ever takes him back, that she'll never speak to her again. But that's after she tells her that she still wishes she would forgive him on some level. And let's go over that itself. As your best friend, if you ever take him back, I will never speak to you again. So if your best friend takes back the abusive man who abuses her, you'll never talk to her again. Yeah, because that's what famously always helps victims the most. Fucking dumping them and piecing out. The main and most important thing for abusers to do is to isolate their victims. Because if they're alone, nobody will find out, and they'll be better to hurt and manipulate because they have no one to go to for help and no one to tell them that what's happening to them is wrong. They keep their victims in an abuse bubble so that their entire life is just them. So if your best friend goes back to the man that tried to rip off her skin with his teeth, rape her, abuse her, amongst other things, you will never speak to her again. Okay, yeah, good, great. Don't care if that was just supposed to be her being dramatic or get across how she feels about it. When this movie is filled with bad writing galore, the reoccurring theme is miscommunication, and we are dealing with someone who was just massively physically and sexually abused. Is not appropriate. I don't care. But it's not really surprising that a movie known for its dumbassery would do something inappropriate, insensitive, or just straight up fucking stupid. Something stupid such as, oh, I don't know, the last point in this segment, which is that she named the baby after Ryle's brother, who he accidentally killed because she's just such a sweet, kind-hearted person who thinks that this moment is going to change an abuser. They act as if this one moment of kindness is just so kind that it will overpower him and convince him to be a better person, because between him having a baby and her doing this kindness for him by naming the baby after the brother that made him essentially become this horrible person because he didn't get help, that's going to change him, make him a better person, that he's going to turn a new leaf. No, he won't. This is a very common belief that abusers just need a moment, one moment of kindness, of someone being kind to them, and that they will change. It's basically the same mindset of those people who are like, oh, you weren't hugged enough as a child. Just the belief that you are this way because you were never shown any kind of kindness, and therefore you just need one, and one hug will save the world. That's how they think. That's how a lot of people actually think. Like, wars happen and everything because they weren't hugged enough as children. That if you just show them kindness, if you just, even if while they're screaming at you, if you just go give them a hug and say, I care about you, that everything will peace among the peace in the world. And that's why it's so crazy that we don't have peace, because no one's willing to even just give someone a hug or say, I care about you. No, it's Martha. It's because that's not how it works. These people are this way for a reason. There's a reason for everything. I know that the reason that they're like this is probably because of trauma and abuse. Yeah, Ryle's this way because of this, and that. Great. Though, also, there's no way Ryle is this way just because he shot his brother. There's no singular way he abuses women because he shot his brother as a child. Sorry. There's definitely something deeper there. But there's a reason for everything. It does not excuse the behavior. And I thought we all knew that. There are solutions. Abusers usually just don't want to take them because they don't want to change. It doesn't matter if you force someone into therapy. That's why you can drag someone into rehab 600 times while they're kicking and screaming, but you're going to have to do it for a 601 time because they don't want to go. So you can't force treatment upon someone. They have to want it. If they don't want it, it's not going to happen. Most abusers don't want that treatment because they like the way that they are, or they don't think they have a problem to begin with. Most abusers, most people in general, think that they're in the right. No matter what side they're on, no matter what they're doing, what they're saying, they think that they're in the right. That's what makes everything so difficult. Because in order to get someone to want change so that they can change, the very first step is convincing that person that they're not in the right. And Colleen is definitely one of those people. She's definitely one of those people that believes and stuff like that. I can see it in her writing, in just who she is and what she believes. I can see that. Most people are either on that side or the other extreme. It's always the extremes and no one can find any middle ground. It's always either all the way over here where it's one hug to save the world, world peace, or it's no one can be saved, no abuser can be saved, once an abuser, always an abuser. And that radical mindset, that extreme mindset, hurts more people than it will ever help, and you're only furthering the hurt. Because we can't just round up and kill all of the previous abusers, all of the rapists, okay? You have to either imprison them for life, kill them all, or rehabilitate them, try to help them. Because the thing is, even if you lock them up for life, that's not what prison was meant for. Sorry, that is what it was meant for. It's supposed to be what it is today, which is just a horrible torture chamber. But what prison should be is rehabilitation. Why would you throw people in prison just to suffer for their entire life? Like that's absurd. Clearly it does nothing. It helps nothing. Clearly it doesn't do anything. What we need is rehabilitation and to teach them what they did is wrong. It's such an easy way out. It's such an easy answer. Just, oh, you don't like them? Well, then just throw them away and just torture them for fun. Like, what are you talking about? These are human beings. And I'm not saying these are human beings, like, feel for them. I'm saying these are human beings. Is this how you would want to be treated? Because, again, these things happen for a reason. They are this way because of trauma, whatever. So maybe if you give them the help that they should have had before, they'll change as a person. Ever think of that? Maybe they won't. And if they stay bad and you think that they're just going to keep causing harm no matter what you do, that's when you have to make the hard choices. This is going off on a whole nother tangent, but it's related. I promise. This one thing is going to do nothing. Ryle has had all this time, like 30 plus years probably. He looks like 35 at least. He's had all this time to choose to be better as a person, to choose to get help. There's no way he's going to get it this time after he abuses Lily and she's like, okay, actually, no, get out of here. And he's like, oh no, I'm gonna go get help. He's, again, clearly done this before. And he clearly hasn't changed. Like, there's no way. But you know what? We're done with that segment. I'm tired of that one. We are moving on, finally, to the last few segments. We're moving on
To Quirkiness.
I thought you were a crypto bro.
You thought I was a crypto bro?
Yeah, no, I don't know, like a really expensive prostitute.
Why does it deserve its own whole segment when we've already talked about it before? Well, because it's just so bad. And I know we've probably talked about all of it already. But maybe not, and even if so, I don't care because it's so bad. Once again, back to the conversation I was having about how it's a very millennial Gen X woman movie. Also very like a white woman too. I believe all of the like good female characters, except for like the doctor who was there for like 2 seconds, is quirky. I'm not kidding you. I think they're all quirky. There are other female characters, not many, but like the mom and stuff like that, but like they have like bad qualities. So they're not quirky, they're just seen like portrayed in a bad light, which is so interesting because I thought the point was Lily was trying not to become her mom, but she was like, it's just very interesting how we paint her mother in a bad light for the wrong reasons. Anyway, don't forget the amazing scene where Lily writes down the 5 bullet points on a napkin.
Did you bring it up with you if you knew there was nothing on it?
Because she does silly little goofy quirky things. She didn't have to. They probably would say Lily has ADHD. She's so ADHD. Oh, that ADHD moment. But the thing is, it's not just always these scenes, these whole scenes. It's all the small things too, and that's why it's so horrible. And that's why it's also so clear what like the target audience, how the eye truly is for like Gen X and millennial women. And it's supposed to be these quirky, silly, I'm not like other girls, because it's not just these scenes, just these lines. It's in the mannerisms. It's in her silly little laughs, her little giggles, and her little mannerisms. And it's horrible. I don't know why people think that people act like this in real life. They do not. Maybe they're like a little silly, goofy. I've seen similar traits in real life, and I've always thought that they were cute. I'm like, oh, that girl's cute. Oh, I like this. Oh, this person's nice. And I've never thought that watching a movie a day in my life. It's so, I'm not like other girls. And once again, we all know why that's bad. Like, imagine saying wild things akin to like, say you just met someone, right? And they're talking to you, and you tell them that you thought that they were either a crypto bro or a very expensive prostitute.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
And right after that, saying something super not cringy and super quirky, like, how do you know if you've never tried having a relationship or carbs? You don't look like you're a reckless snacker. And there's no other way to explain it, to explain her than quirky when her entire life has wanted this flower shop. It means more to her than anything. This is all that she's ever wanted. And she's late to get the keys because she's doodling. She's just doodling. A little doodle here and there. Oh no, I'm late. And then you're on the phone with your mom and you're like, okay, I'm late. So sorry. Didn't mean to be late. You've been waiting for this moment your entire life. You're actually stupid. It's not even like you were doing something. You're just doodling. You're just doodling. Like, you think that because this is the most important time of your life, okay. And then that scene where she's introducing him to her mother, and she introduces him as, oh, this is my friend Vile, who I'm now having sex with. And then he's like, do you know that you just said that? And she's like, I do know that I just said that. No one talks like this ever. Also, has anyone even done that? Like, in real life, actually, like, even one time. Didn't mean to say that out loud. Oh my god, do you know that you just said that out loud? I do know I just said that out loud. Doing that was less cringy, less horrible of an experience than watching that scene. Also, I had to watch it like 4 times for this video, so they're everywhere. All of the mannerisms and the scenes, they're always quirky, silly, not like other girls, and I don't understand what the point is, except I do know, I just don't get it, but I get it, but I don't. I know it's because that's what Colleen is still into, because women her age and like a lot of millennials, a lot aren't, but it seems like mostly Gen X women are, and then like some millennials are, but not all, anyway, are all into the not like other girls thing, the phase. But it's not a phase, it's their life, it's their lifestyle, because they don't understand why it died out and why it's bad, and you try to explain it, and then they go to, oh, youngins these days. To put it in a really small, short explanation, the whole I'm not like other girls trope is bad because it insinuates that all other girls are bad. It's putting an emphasis on being different, but why do you want to be different? What's so important about you being different? Why can't you be like all the other girls? Also, why is it never, I'm not like other guys, I'm not like other this and that? It's because it's a feminine thing. It's about how being feminine is bad. Notice how most of the time when people are like, oh, I'm not like other girls, it's because they like dress like a guy or they do guy things. Or I'm not like other girls, I'm cool. I'm not like other girls, I don't wear pink. I'm not like other girls, I listen to heavy metal instead of pop music because those things are bad. And even if you're not going to that far of an extent, the whole quirkiness, the girl being quirky, is rooted in the I'm not like other girls trope. Why is she acting like this? Like, put aside the quirky label or whatever, why is she acting like this? It's so weird. Whatever, that's done. We're done with the quirkiness. Even though that's the entire movie, you're so lucky it was condensed into that short of a segment. On to the next one. Can we guess what it is? You don't know. I think you probably do because I put it in chapters. It's poor choices.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
I made this segment because I couldn't fit it into the bad writing category. I was like, it just doesn't fit. But there are several poor choices that I still want to talk about. I still think should be talked about, even though it doesn't fit into the bad writing. So poor choices. Hey, why are we randomly making fun of homeless people? Several times. And it's just very interesting because the next part in this segment is rich people porn. The extreme amount of rich people porn is so annoying. And it is in every single movie like this because that's like the target audience, the people who want that so bad, the Gen X and millennial women. It's in other similar movies like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey because they eat it up, because they love it. Like the fantasy of being swept away as a poor lonely woman, by a rich, handsome daddy billionaire. Wow, I hated that. Which is so funny because these are the same women who started the whole girl boss era, the whole I'm a girl boss and you can't tell me what to do and I'm strong and independent and I'm gonna wear a suit. I'm gonna wear a pink suit. But maybe not. Maybe not all the time because I'm also not like other girls, so who knows. However, this whole fantasy of being a poor lonely woman being swept away by a big, strong, handsome billionaire is literally just repackaged. Princess being saved by the prince, damsel in distress being saved by the man. It's just repackaged. So if that's what you want, then just let that be what you want. Don't try to be like, oh, I'm strong and independent, I don't need no man. Clearly you do. And they always try to like defeat the point of what they're into while doing what they're into. It's so interesting and fascinating, actually. You see it, I think, personally most in 50 Shades of Grey, which I have been planning on maybe like watching and like reacting to, talking about it in a video. Let me know if you want that. I have a lot of thoughts on that as a person, just in general, and a person who is into BDSM. So maybe. Anyway, like how in that movie they try to make Anastasia like strong and independent. Like Christian is the billionaire is throwing things at her. Like, oh, go, take this laptop. I'm just going to give it to you just because I saw you and I like you. And he's a really big creep, but whatever. Or maybe it was books. I'm not entirely sure, but she's like, I don't need this. I'm sending it back because I don't need this. I can do everything by myself. And he's like, just let me do it for you, though. And it's like, you're trying to defeat the purpose of what you enjoy while portraying what you enjoy. You clearly just enjoy this. Stop trying to defeat the point of it. The rich people porn in this movie is absolutely horrible. And I hate it every single time because some people like to watch things strictly for fantasy of, oh, imagine if, this was the case. I'm just going to imagine myself in these shoes. Some people like to watch things because it's relatable. Relatable people would not like to watch this movie. And it's just so funny because everyone watching this movie is going to fall into the category they're dunking on. They're shitting on. Clearly, this movie is like a ew, poor people movie. Obviously. So interesting how we literally have a homeless guy who's like the best character in the movie, and he was a homeless little boy. And the entire movie is ew, poor people. Atlas talks about how Lily was such a good person because she helped him, lent him a hand when he was a poor young boy, yet she's making fun of homeless people and him with Ryle at the beginning. The entire movie. Everywhere you go, they're rich. They clearly have money. The only person low on their luck with money is young Atlas when he's poor and homeless. Ryle is loaded. Alyssa, his sister, is married to a guy who is loaded. Everywhere they go, they're loaded. Very clearly, they have so much money. The best places. And we don't know what Lily did before the flower shop because they don't tell us anything about her before the flower shop except abuse. But in the montages where they keep going out, Ryle like gives her dresses because he's the rich guy and he's like, okay, wear this tonight. And she comes out in this super disgustingly rich dress. Like you could never afford it. And they're going to all these fancy places and it's just so very much fuck poor people. We love being rich, but also there's this homeless guy and he's the best guy. It's the same fantasy. It's the same fantasy as it is in like 50 Shades of Grey of like, okay, she's clearly fine, strong, independent, whatever, but this strong zaddy millionaire comes up and he's so rich and he's so hot and he's gonna sweep you off your feet and he's gonna pay for everything for you and now you're rich too. How's it feel? Oh, well, you're humble, so everything works out. Like, it's repulsive to me. The idea of being poor doesn't make money. The idea of being poor isn't fun to watch. Because that's already what you are. Because you want to indulge in this fantasy of what you would do with all this money so that you could buy shoes instead of rent. But these movies are being made by people with said money. They're not on your side. They are the opposite of on your side. That's why they randomly are making fun of homeless people in this movie for no reason. I could talk about this forever. Let's move on to the last part of this segment. The horrible way in which we talk about the children. Talking about children as if they're a commodity, a toy, a dress-up doll, something to have for fun, not a whole person that's going to become a whole adult that will affect several thousands, millions of people later in their life. I'm upset you didn't invite me to the wedding. Very reasonable. I'm upset. I'm hurt. I'm not pleased. I'm going to make a little joke about, well, if I can't come to the wedding, I will not be denied a watching you squirm. And then saying, okay, you want to make it up to me? Give me a child. Give me a grandchild. No, give me 3 grandchildren because it makes me happy to see them because I think they're cute. So you go pop them out as if they're dolls for me to dress up. So many people talk like this, say these kinds of things because they think that they're harmless. Oh, it's just a joke. I obviously don't see them that way. But there's a reason why you're making these jokes to begin with. There is truth in every single joke. And like, for instance, I would never make that joke because I don't think it's funny, because I don't think talking about children as if they're little dress-up doll toys is funny. Because you know what? They're always talked about like that, and that leads to the dehumanization of them. Children are not treated as people. whatsoever. Children don't even have any kind of rights. You are seen as property. You are your mother and father's property. They can do with you what they want. You don't like my parenting? Well, it's my child, not yours. Let me do what I want with my child, because they're my toy, my thing, my property, instead of a human being, which people should be able to speak up about the mistreatment of. It takes a village to raise a child. It's so hard. But if you say one thing against my parenting, it's my child, not yours, my property, not yours. I can do what I want. I know that having a baby means they're going to become a whole entire human being who will affect the state of the world, several people's lives. This will be a whole human being. I miss when I had a kid, when I had you and you were cute and I got to dress you up like a little doll and I just thought you were so cute, like a toy. So I want you to have them. Go have a kid, go have 3 kids and deal with all that. Hate your life, be miserable, improperly raise these children so that I can have fun because I think they're cute. It's also why a lot of people have animals and then complain about how hard it is to have an animal. Like, yeah, it's pooping and peeing everywhere, Samantha. Because it's a puppy. Because they're not just there to sit and be cute. It's like you want it to have free will because sometimes it's cute, but then they exercise that free will and you get pissed because they're not doing what you wanted. So you want them to have free will, but you don't. Children are not a commodity. They're not toys. They're not dolls. They're not anything but little people. Little yet to be full-grown human beings. The whole job of a parent is to raise a child into an adult who is healthy, happy, and ready to take on the world. Because that's your only job. That's your singular job. I'm not saying it's not hard, but you chose to have the child. If you're saying that you didn't choose, maybe you were assaulted and that's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other conversation about abortion and everything, okay? I don't think you should have had to have the child. And it's wrong if you wanted to get rid of it and you weren't able to. But if you chose to have it, it is on you because you decided to have one when you weren't ready. Because you decided to have one without thinking about why you want one and if you're ready to have one. Clearly, you weren't. Anyway, they also wear onesies in the movie. And I think that that is lame and stupid. And also proves my point about the whole millennial Gen X thing. Millennials loved their onesies, dude. They loved them. And even my Gen X mom did. She got matching ones and then made me wear one. And it was camo. And I didn't enjoy it, but it made her very happy. So I took a picture in it and I sent it to my abusive, now ex-boyfriend, who was way older than me. Anyway, once again, and I know we already talked about it, but it's just so funny to me after I realized it not that long ago. But it's not just that, because I know that this is very much the fantasy that we were talking about being like, oh, poor lowly woman, rich, hot man, whatever, is very much a Gen X woman fantasy. Very much so. I learned that because the reason I know what Twilight is to begin with was because my grown mother read those books and was fawning over them. Keep in mind, Edward is he's like a teenager, but he's not. Okay, anyway, so many things I want to talk about, no time. Anyway, and that was very much like her thing. And as I got older, I just saw how many Gen X women and just older women were a fan of this kind of trope and this kind of thing, and that's why I started getting into it. And then I started getting into more horrible things. And it's just interesting to me. I think a lot of people think I say the things that I do, have the beliefs that I believe, because I've always been this way. Oh my God, is that not the case? I used to be the exact person I talk shit on today because I realize it's possible to change. I realize these things are bad. So that's why I talk about these things. But that is the end of Poor Choices, and there are a bunch more. I just know that this video will be forever long. Not stressed out about it, so let's move on. Finally, for the last segment before we go on to the outro before the outro, has to be done. Good things.
I don't know, I just don't think this is great for me. I don't want to do it. I want to go home. I can't take the pressure of it. But don't you think any job interview...
It may be hard to believe, but there are some few good things about this movie. It will not take long to go over those. Good thing number 1. They might have aged up Lily from the books, where she's how old? 23, and Ryle is 30. If they're trying to tell me that Blake Lively looking like this is 23, I'm about to start freaking out. Also, though, the relationship between young Lily and Atlas starts off in a good place and is genuinely cute. They form a relationship after Lily sees him eating out of the trash and realizes he's homeless, so she makes 2 large bags full of supplies and food and drops him off without expecting any thanks, but he thanks her anyway. That makes him open up to her, and they talk about his life, why he's homeless. She offers him more help by telling him that he can use her place to shower or just anything he needs that he can't do himself. Then she teases him, which makes him smile, and he takes her up on her offer. After that, she shows genuine interest in his life. They start teasing each other in their appropriately childish way, and that starts off their relationship. He helps her garden. He shows interest in her life. They become friends. He asks her if the abuse that he heard going on in her house happens a lot to check in on her, and he gives her a soft hug that she needed clearly more than anything at the time. They grow close over the bond of 2 kids who are suffering abuse at the hands of their family and have no one to go to about it. Someone who understands. Atlas actually goes out of his way to make things he knows she'll enjoy. He listens to her, who she is, and loves her for it, and shows it to her. They both show genuine mutual interest in each other's lives and them as a person. We see why it is that they end up liking each other and why they form a relationship of any kind to begin with, because they're both children struggling at the hands of their family who are abusing them. They find solace in each other. They find comfort because they understand. They get it. They can go to each other about it. But that's also the thing. That's not the only reason why they're interested in each other. It's not like that's all that they talk about. In fact, they don't talk about it too much. They talk about their lives, what they enjoy, and the other person's interested, and they contribute to it. Though it's mostly Atlas to Lily, which I don't like, and actually I probably should have included it in bad writing or something. Like, she definitely could have shown like more interest in him and his life and everything. Like, we mostly just hear about Lily, which I know that this movie's like about her, but it's so centered around her in a not good way that it's like she's the only character that matters. And it's annoying. Second, you feel for Atlas a lot, and the actor does a fantastic job at making you feel like you need to protect him. Like he's a vulnerable and scared little boy who needs help. He's soft, caring, and gentle. He just wants to protect his mom. He just wants a friend. He just wants safety. He's worried about Lily and doesn't try to posture or be the hero. He just hugs her and says, "Sorry." Atlas is probably the only good character in this movie. So, good things, Atlas, basically. Have you ever been in the middle of watching a video when a random green screen pops up in the middle of it? Well, you're not alone. It happens more often than you may think. These complications tend to happen when yapping occurs a little bit too much, when one does not know how to hold thine tongue and yaps far too often. And that's what happened here. I didn't shut up, meaning there's another hour or possibly even more of content, but there's no way I can get myself to make this video like 3 hours long. You can't make me do it. There will be a part 2, of course, because how could I ever resist talking about all this absolute garbage? Also, it's already filmed, so there's that. So if you clicked on this 2-hour video thinking, wow, that's way too long, surely this encompasses everything they had to say, you were wrong, but don't worry, there will be more. So y'all will be getting your first green screen outro. I hate it. I hate it more than words can say. I hate it in every language. There's no language that could help me explain how much I hate this, but gotta do what you gotta do. Don't worry, I have apology cats. If you got to this point in the video, comment a eyebrow emoji, and then a huff emoji. Because that's how I feel. Apparently that's how the cat feels. Okay, bye. And if you liked the video, caress that like button. Caress it gently, as if it was a lover. And if you hated it, I wouldn't blame you for disliking this one. No, that was pretty bad. But do remember to be a good person, and not a bad one, obviously. Because it is the one rule of this kingdom, the one singular law of this kingdom, and it's not that hard, and you know it's not. And also remember that I will not see you, but you will see me next time. Again, because of course, that's how videos work. Almost slipped up there. I guess technically I did. I didn't make him do that, by the way. That's just what he does. I didn't force him to do that. I promise I'm not lying. Okay, bye. Thank you for your help. I appreciate it. I lied. He proposed at his sister's baby delivery. I think that's so crazy. Do you want to know why? One of my butterflies just hatched, just emerged. I'm gonna screw up the camera angle just for that, just for you guys. Okay, hold on. Just came out. You can't see anything. I'm so sorry. Can y'all stop fluttering down there, please? There is this one that will not stop, dude. Alright, I'm gonna go see what they want. My kids. See, this is why I'm never having kids. I can't even have butterflies.